Hello, everyone. Welcome, all of you guys, to this very special VIP call. We have only platinums and golds on this call, so I'm super excited that all of you are here because we want to focus on the pioneering new markets, which is really important for you guys in Africa, in Nigeria, and I'm super thrilled to introduce you to my friend and business partner, Mr. Dan Catto. And I like Dan because he's really authentic guy. He's not trying to sugarcoat stuff. He will be telling you the truth. And I believe that it's much better to know the truth because then you are ready for the reality, so you can get prepared and you can overcome the obstacles, which obviously there are obstacles when you are launching new markets. So I don't want to talk too long. Dan, over to you.
Great, Dal. Thanks so much. As you know, I'm very, very, very excited about our call here today, which I believe is 8 p.m. in the evening Nigerian time. Is that correct, Dal?
That's correct, yes.
Fantastic. Well, I'm excited. I'm very, very excited to speak and reach out to all of you in Nigeria. Dal, just quickly, how's the audio? Am I coming through nice and clear?
Nice and clear, yes.
Beautiful. Great, great, great. Okay, I won't make any more adjustments from an audio standpoint. Well, gang, it's great to be on this call. I've been looking forward to this call for some time, ever since Dalbor and I had put together, and he asked me to be on the call. There's a number of you that are on this call now, and by the way, it's 3 o'clock here in Canada. I'm reaching you from my lake house summer family cottage home, which is just north of Toronto, about 2.5, 3 hours north of Toronto. So a glorious day here, and I know a beautiful evening there in Nigeria. But again, I've chatted with a number of you independently. I've done, as a matter of fact, some of you have done a number of calls with, and I was really excited to hear and know that. Well, obviously, you'd be on the call because you're part of not just the future of Nigeria, but you really are this group that we have, which is a very, very, very special group that's on this call, the future of all of Africa. And, when I was speaking with Dalibor and with Gloria, I know, Gloria, you're on, and I'm going to be talking to your great, great leadership and inner circle that we've got here. Um, there's a fair bit of emotion for me on this call because it takes me back to my roots. We've got, 45 minutes to an hour, and there's so much that I do want to share with you, but I'm very, very, very obviously passionate, as for you that I've spoke to in the past, about this industry, but I'm especially passionate about this industry coming to Africa because those are my roots. I was born in Toronto, Canada, over 60 years ago. Thank God for these incredible products and make you look good, feel good, and you're supposed to look even younger and everything else that I believe they're working. But it was over 60 years ago that I went to Africa. I went to northern Rhodesia with my parents and my baby sister. I was just barely a year old, and I went to Kenya, went to northern Rhodesia, which is now Zambia, as you all know. My father was a United Church minister in Canada, and um, ventured to Africa at that time to as a missionary with my mom, and did missionary work throughout all of Africa, but fundamentally, basically in Kenya, in northern Rhodesia again, which is now Zambia because they got their independence. And I spent 5 years there. So my roots, my childhood, my upbringing was all in Africa. So, I was just saying to my mom, my dad did pass a little over 3 years ago, 3 years ago this past May, and I was just talking to my mom. She's in our lake house cottage here that I was going to be on the call here. She's known for a number of days, and she was so excited that I'd be speaking to Africa again, and particularly Nigeria, because I said, Mom, one day we'll be in every single country in this incredible continent of Africa one day. And it's going to happen over the next few years. And I said, Mom, I'm on with their leadership, their inner core, their pioneers that will be taking us throughout all of Africa. And she says, it's a lot what your dad was doing, like what your dad was doing years and years and years ago. And he certainly answered to a pretty high calling, my father did. But I believe all of us are answering to an incredibly high calling here as we take these incredible products and this incredible opportunity, not for just the Nigerians, but for all of Africa. Our products are changing, as you know, for you that have experienced these products, what they can do for you emotionally, I mean, medically, change life. They've, I have to tell you how much it's changed my life and saved my life, these products, because I had suffered with a debilitating disease called colitis and Crohn's disease, and the products have helped me there. But the opportunity that we can just impact the lives of so many Africans. And today, I think most of you do know that this incredible industry that we're in of networking, network marketing, direct sales, multi-level marketing, the whole umbrella of this industry and what it's doing is Africa is the fastest growing market in the world. Africa, the incredible continent of 1.3 billion people. So this call, this leadership, this group that we have, Gloria, Aisha, Dr. Amadi, Eva, Mariama, Bridget, Joy, Pat, all of you and your teams, you are the future, not of Nigeria, but of Africa. I went through this 18 years ago, gang. 18 years ago when I started in Canada with one product, with my partner Garcia. We were the first distributors, the very first distributors. We had most of the people we were talking to back then didn't have computers. I know you're running into objections where they say, oh, the product's too expensive, or, they say they're going to join and then 3 days later they go home and they talk to their spouse and they, the person didn't join or they got blown out of the water, or they're just not interested, all of this stuff. And by the way, if you're not getting objections or challenges in the business, you're not doing the business. And I can promise you this, the people with the most objections, the most no's, the most dissatisfied prospects, objections and no's and all of that stuff, the one with the most challenges and problems and objections, et cetera, are the ones that are going to have the biggest groups and organizations and the most amount of production in their team, because that means you're on track. If you're not getting those objections, you're not doing the business. That's all a part of the business and the process. But think about this, as I'm really leading up to, where are we going to go? What do you need to do? What are we going to do together as we march through Nigeria and the rest of this incredible continent? Well, 18 years ago, when Garcia and I started, Joe Garcia and I, we just had one product. We didn't have two. We didn't have three. We had one. And it wasn't a man's product. It was a lady's product. And we were the first to have it, the female version of Viagra, which is, as you know, Allura. So we just had that product, but we didn't have a history. We were a privately held company at that time. We weren't public. We had no history of success. We didn't have years and years of success in multiple markets around the world. We didn't have all of this money behind us. We didn't have any of that. Garcia and I just had a whole bunch of hope, a whole bunch of faith and belief, and an incredible dream and vision that one day we would be in multiple markets with multiple products, with multiple success stories. Gang, we've experienced all of that, as you know, in the last 18 years. And the challenges and the issues that we went through 18 years ago, the stuff you're going to go through won't even compare to what we went through 18 years ago, not even close. In that first year, we were shut down twice. And they, just by, Pfizer shut us down because they said our product sounded too much like Viagra, because the Allura product at one time used to be called Viacream. There's multiple stories of all of the challenges that we went through in that first year. As pioneers, as leaders of Nigeria and the future of Africa, You need to know what we went through 18 years ago and being undercapitalized, not being public, just the challenges that we went through. Well, you won't go through those challenges because we've already done that. We've overcome all of that. The challenges that you'll go through will be, well, I don't know if the product's for me. Well, I don't know if I have enough money. I don't know if my spouse is going to allow me to do this. That is normal. But as pioneers for Africa, you still will have some pretty big challenges because you will be the pioneers of this just incredible, incredible market. But I promise you, those challenges will go away in pioneering a market. The constant daily challenges that you'll have in terms of excuses why people won't do the business or they won't buy the product or they find it's too expensive, that's normal. That will always be there. And the larger the organization, the more of those you will hear. But then the more success stories you will hear. But as leaders and pioneers, you want to focus on the bigger picture. You want to focus on where you're going and where your people are going. And that's the vision. That's the bigger picture. So again, I really want to applaud Gloria. First of all, you and for what you've done, your inner circle that you have here. I've mentioned your names again, from Dr. Amadi to Aisha to Eva to Mariama, Bridget, Joy. I remember the conversations we had. Pat, incredible, incredible what you've done so far. What we have done so far has been fantastic. But what we've got to do is even bigger, because the return is going to be that much bigger. The last 18 years in the markets that we've gone through, that we've gone into, from Russia to China to everything here in North America to now into South America, all of this stuff has built us to where we want to be and ultimately want to go throughout all of Africa. But again, it starts with Nigeria. This, again, as I shared with you, is a very, very special call. So, gang, I want to share with you, when I got started off back in 2001, and we just only had, a black and white brochure, 10% of the room when we did a meeting had a computer. 90% of the people back in 2001 were not even online, didn't have a computer. We had one website that was breaking down all the time. Again, black and white brochures. But again, it was that bigger picture and the vision to ultimately be in every market around the world. We've gotten into a lot of the major markets, from Europe to North America. As you know, we've gotten into Japan. We have made a dent, in China. We look to be in India here in the coming months. But we're really most excited about where we're ultimately going to be in Africa. The industry is the fastest growing market that we have worldwide, as I shared with you. So if you look at some of the people and what they've gone through, I'm going to share a story with you if you haven't heard the story about Huna. Back in 2002, a lady, young lady, had come over to the United States. Her name is Huna. She's a dear friend of mine today, but back in 2002, she came to Los Angeles from China. She was a single mom. She had come here as an exchange student, but ultimately wanted to develop English, learn the English language. She wanted to, build her life here in North America, particularly the United States and Southern California. But she was scared. She was nervous. She had been here just a few months and she was running out of money. Again, she had a 4-month-old. She answered an ad in Los Angeles in a Chinese section in a newspaper in Los Angeles. And the advertisement had talked about our opportunity with NHT Global. But we only had one product that time when we hadn't introduced Skindulgence, which was our second product. So Huna was running out of money. She answered this ad because it talked about an opportunity. It talked about a business that was was new to the United States, to North America, and they were looking for people that had a Chinese connection. So she answered this ad that was done in Chinese. She didn't know the person, obviously, because the person that was running the ad was running an advertisement out of the paper looking for people that might be interested in the product and the business. So she responded to the ad. He said, we have a meeting, a presentation out at a local hotel in the community that she lived in, and she said she would go. So she went to the hotel where they're holding the presentation, which was done in Chinese. She had to take her 4-month-old with her because she couldn't afford a babysitter. She carried her 4-month-old boy to the presentation, but they wouldn't let her into the presentation because she didn't realize that it's our meeting etiquette where you can't have pets or children to a meeting presentation. It's just our business etiquette. So they had shut the doors, but she pressed her ear against the closed door and listened to the presentation. So she listens to the presentation. It was a short one, maybe 30 to 40 minutes. She gets pretty excited about what she heard. So she left the room because the person who ran the advertisement that she'd responded to was in the presentation room, but she couldn't get in. So she left the hotel, was pretty excited, called the person later on that day and said she was excited and she would like some samples of the product. And the person said, well, you need to buy the product, et cetera, et cetera. And another excuse, right? Some of the stuff that comes up in your business. The person believed just through the conversation, I guess enough, gave her a couple of samples. So Huna got the samples and she mailed the samples back to China. About 3 weeks later, the samples that she had mailed to China, they were communicating with her and they responded to Huna and they said, send some more. So she called back the person that had run the advertisement that she got the samples from, and she talked him into getting some more samples. So she got some more samples. I understand she had paid for a couple. She was able to raise enough money, get some more samples. So she forwarded some more. About 2 weeks later, her family back in China said, send as much as you can. So she got back to the same person. This is over a period of about 8 weeks. So they forwarded, I guess it was a box from, I understand back then, I think it was a couple of dozen samples that he was prepared to send. I'll make a long story short here. At the end of her first year, Huna was earning over $1,000 a month, and this was residual income just off the Allura product. A year later, she had gone over $10,000 a month in China, and just shipping the product back to China and into Asia. The following year, her income went over $100,000. It had gone over $100,000 a year. The following year, it had gone over $100,000 a month. By the end of her fourth year, her income had gone over $170,000 a week in commissions. She's one of our great stories of NHT Global, of someone who had gone through some incredible hardships and some tough times, but had patience and perseverance and a dream to take their business and their life to the next level, and did whatever she could. Today, 90% of her check goes back to that village in China where she comes from. Today, she has 3 children, and those 3 children fly around the world with her to all of our global ambassador events, from Hawaii to Dubai to Australia to New Zealand, to all over. And you can see her online, and you can see she's in Hong Kong right now at the big event that we've got in Hong Kong. But we have got multiple stories today, as we've got most of you that are on this call today are women. And I want to share this fact with you that 82% today of the women in North America that earn a 6-figure income or more earn it. And these are the women that are earning 7 figures, not just 6 figures, but 6 figures and more. So women that are earning $1 million a year earn it in our industry of direct sales, direct marketing, and network marketing. Nearly 80% of our global ambassadors today in NHT Global are women. Most of them got there in less than 5 years. Most of them are coming from the emerging markets. Most of them had never done this before, had never been involved in our industry before. And when I was at our last big event in Hong Kong, I remember all of our new global ambassadors that were going across the stage. They were all women except for one fellow. But I pulled these girls over, and Dalibor, you were at that event. I spoke to these women. Most of the average age was in their early to mid 50s. Most of them had never held a job before. They'd never even held a job. But at the common constant they had with all of them, they all were very, very hungry. Not physically, but they were emotionally, mentally, and spiritually hungry to succeed. And they would do whatever it took to get where they wanted to go, not just for themselves, but for their families. So when I look at what we have in our possibilities and our opportunities in Africa, there is so much that Africa needs. There is so much from a nutritional standpoint, to help so many people there. So our products will help them in so many different ways, and the opportunity will help them take these products to all of the countries that we have throughout Africa. So we've got the stories from Huna to Garth Wright, who helped pioneer all of Europe, to Thomas, which is Dalibor's sponsor, and what he's done to help pioneer Russia to go into the Eastern Bloc. Gang, to what Dalibor has gone through and what he's done for Scandinavia, for Ireland, for the UK, and to help solidify what we've got in Europe. But also Dalibor is the pioneer for India. And he has been so instrumental in bringing our business and our opportunity to Africa. And Gloria, if it wasn't for you and your inner circle, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So I applaud all of you for all of your hard work and where we are now in Nigeria, but especially what we're about to do as we go forward to opening up all of Africa. So gang, there's lots we've got to do. I want to share some other stories with you in some of the markets just in the last 6 to 9 months, similar to what's going on with you in the last several months. South America, it's not an affluent society. It is not, as you would say, cash rich as what you'd have maybe in some of their Western societies, which you've got maybe in North America, which you'd have in Western Europe. You may have it in some of the markets that you've got in South America, but there's a lot of challenges that we have there from a social and economic standpoint. But we have just officially opened up Peru. We're about to go into all of South America. Nigeria reminds me so much of what we've done in Peru, because Peru is the gateway to the rest of South America. Nigeria is the gateway to the rest of Africa. Here's a powerful story that we have in Peru. My last big event in Peru, we had 1,300 people at that event. We brought in a lady that had come from her little village outside of Peru. It was about a 5-hour drive by car to Peru, or pardon me, to Lima, where the big event was, and that's the capital of Peru. She was recognized on stage for having the most people at that event. She was the leader that had the most people at that event, and the leader to hit the highest rank the fastest. Her name is Concepcion. They brought her up on stage. She is 4'10". She wasn't even 5 foot tall. This little lady, this little gal, this incredible powerhouse, small in stature, but a giant in what she had accomplished. We were interviewing her on stage, and how did she get 100 people to that event? She said she rented a bus. This bus had been 5 hours to get to Lima, Peru. They were there for a day and a half. I didn't even ask where they were staying or how they were going to be staying, because she had shared with me as we probed her a little bit more about what it was like for her to get started. The gentleman that sponsored her, his name is Kazoo. Kazoo is the #1 distributor that we have the highest rank in all of Peru, will probably be our first global ambassador. Right now, Gloria, looks like you may be our first global ambassador, but you have a lot of great people on your team that'll be probably becoming global ambassador right along with you. But this lady, Concepcion, she came from a little village that was 5 to 6 hours by car, by bus, outside of Lima. When Kazoo went in to do his first presentation in that village, he brought in his iPad or his laptop computer, and he wanted to plug it into her home, but he couldn't to do the overview. Why? Because she had no electricity. Then he found out she had no running water. She had no running water. She had no electricity. So he had to give sort of a face-to-face, hand-to-hand, belly-to-belly presentation on the business, not being able to show and share with their technology. But they found a way to communicate what NHT was doing. She got to try the products. She signed up and has the record today for the fastest growing organization in all of Peru. Her name again is Concepcion, and she, as I said, barely 4'10". Just an incredible story about overcoming objections, challenges, and the perseverance. But she probably will become Kazoo's first global ambassador that we have in Peru. So what did she do when we talked to her? It was the same thing with our global ambassadors. When I talked to this great team of new ambassadors that we had at this last Hong Kong event, just about all of them women, most of them never even holding down a job before. They said that they focused on sharing the product. They focused on sharing the business. They focused on getting to the next rank. And they worked very hard. They said that they didn't worry too much about people who did not want to do the business. Quote unquote. This is all through translation. They focused on people that wanted to do the business. They understood that there would be distractions. They understood that there would be excuses. They understood that there would be people who would not do the business. They understood that there'd be people who would start the business and would quit. It's all a part of the business. If you're not having challenges, if you're not having objections, if you're not going through problems, if you're not having all of that, you're not doing the business. And I can't stress it enough that all of this, all of these problems and challenges, again, are a part of the journey. And the more you have, the greater the business you'll have. Little problems, little business. Big problems, big business. You are measured as a leader and your success by how you handle your objections and your challenges that you've got. I could never understand. I've been in this industry 30 years. I got started 30 years ago last June. This past June was my first month in the business. I could not understand why people couldn't see it the way I saw it. I could never understand, why can't they see this? Why don't they love the product like I do? Why don't they see the business like I do? Why did they sign up and then they went home and then they quit? Why? I couldn't understand that. And I got to understand over time, it wasn't me. It was just the way it was. And my late father had shared that same kind of story with me about his mentor. His mentor, his initials, as you all know, would be JC. JC. You know who I'm talking about. And he surrounded himself with 12 people, 12 guys, the 12 disciples. And not all of them worked out. One of them really kind of messed up. But when he was sharing with them, when they shared their opportunity, when they had to do their talk, when they went from town to town to town, he said, don't worry about the ones who can't see it. Just wipe the sand off your feet and move on to the next town. There's too many people that need the opportunity. Basically the same words we're saying today, that needed to see the bigger picture, the vision that my father's mentor, JC, had 2,000 years ago. So, We had similar conversations my late father and I had about my business, our business, what you do, what I do, what I did 30 years ago. And it was difficult for me in those early years, those early days, because I saw so much. I really saw just a tremendous vision and future. And gang, 30 years ago, I didn't have much when I started off in this industry. At that time, I was living with my parents. Even though I'm 62 today, when I was 32, I had to move back in with my parents because I lost everything. I was going, unfortunately, through a divorce. I was going through a corporate takeover. I'd lost my business. I went into business for myself, and that I went bankrupt. I lost everything. My health started to fail me. I was in the hospital with colitis and Crohn's disease, which is a very debilitating disease, which my grandmother had complications and passed away from. So I knew it was a genetic thing that I had to do something eventually, or my health would probably take me down. So these products have helped me with that. But these are all of the challenges and the issues that I had in the very beginning. We all will have them. It's a part of the journey. But I've always said, if what you want is greater than the resistance you'll meet, you will attain your dreams. And if your dreams are greater than your fears, you can accomplish anything. So, in understanding where we go and what we do, the fundamentals of the business are the most important things for you to focus on. Sharing the product is critical. Sharing the business is critical. Those two things, and promoting the next conference call, promoting the next webinar, promoting the next meeting, promoting that through your team and your group is the most important thing that you need to focus on. Don't worry too much about anything else other than focusing on the simple things that you have control of. And that is these incredible products. Don't worry about the people who can't afford it. Don't worry about the people saying, well, maybe I didn't get the results I was looking for. There's too many people who will find a way to purchase the product, who will know that there's, no matter what, they're going to find a way to afford to purchase the product. They will do the business. Don't worry about the ones who say they can't do the business. They won't do the business. There's a whole other training that we can give you and share with you on how you can overcome the objections. But the focus that you need to have is on the ones that want to do the business, the ones that do want to purchase the product. And I'll give you a simple tip that has worked for me in terms of the product, in terms of the business, is asking for referrals. There's countless times over the years that I've been able to bring distributors into the business or prospects into the business from people who said it wasn't for them. And I quite simply asked them, is there someone that needs an extra $1,000 a month? Is there someone that has health challenges? Is there someone that would like to look 5 years younger the next 30 minutes? Is there someone that would like to change their career? Is there someone that would like to go into business for themselves? Is there someone who doesn't like their boss, who doesn't like their job? There are so many different responses that you can lead to and use in our business and in terms of our opportunity and sharing the product. This call is not so much about that. This particular webinar is about the bigger picture. All of this stuff that I've just shared with you in terms of objections and challenges, that's all a part of it. But our focus as leaders, as pioneers, needs to be focusing on the bigger picture of our business and the building of your team and the building of your organization. You focusing on that next rank, Q1, or getting to rank 1, getting to rank 2, and getting to rank 3. That's what your focus needs to be. We can do and set up a training on how to overcome all of those objections. I can do it. Dalibor can do it. Garth can do it. Joe Garcia can do it. We've got a lot of our leaders. Gloria, I know you could do it because you've gone through a lot of them. But this will be all a part of the process in building it. But let me tell you, I guarantee you this. I'll guarantee you three things. Is that over the next 1 to 2 years, excuse me, you will have, I guarantee you'll have challenges and problems in opening up Nigeria as well as opening up all of Africa. I guarantee you, you will have problems. As a matter of fact, your problems will have babies. They will have problems, and those problems will have problems. But I'll guarantee you, number two, those problems will go away. I guarantee you, number three, that in 5 to 10 years, you that are on this call, that are with myself, Dalibor, and Gloria, I promise you, I guarantee you, in 5 to 10 years, you will be free. And you'll be free to do what you want, with whom you want, wherever you want, at any time you want. But it's what you do from now until then. You know, most people know what to do. They just don't do what they know. And it's focusing on just those few fundamentals, and I keep going back to that. Those simple fundamentals that you need to do over and over and over and over again. I said success is simple disciplines repeated over time. Simple disciplines repeated over time. Failure is a simple error in judgment repeated over time. Failure is a simple error in judgment repeated over time. Those simple disciplines that you do that will lead you to success is sharing the product, sharing the business, promoting the next event. Continue to do that every day and focus on where you're going, not on where you can't go. Focus on where you can go, not where you can't go. But that simple error in judgment means, well, maybe I'm not going to share the product today. Maybe I won't share the business or the opportunity this week. You know what? I'm going to take the next few weeks off, and I'm not going to go to a webinar. These are simple errors in judgment that repeated over time will take you out of the business. It's those little things that you do every day that will create that success. You know, something that was shared with me not too long ago that I was pretty impressed with was what I'm going to share with you right now, is the 7 deadly social sins, which really relates to our business. It has been said that you can't have politics without principle. Excuse me. You can't have pleasure without conscience. You can't have education without character, science without humanity, commerce without morality, wealth without work, worship without sacrifice. Those are the 7 deadly social sins by Gandhi. And as Dalibor has gotten to recognize and glory the conversations that we've had, is that you can't fulfill your goals and ultimately your dreams without paying the price, without going to work, without doing what you have to for a few years. Because if you do what you have to for just a few years, you could be in a position to do what you want to for the rest of your life. Now, years ago, when I got started off in this industry, it was pretty difficult when you don't have your health. It's pretty difficult when you lose your spouse. It's pretty difficult when you lose everything that you have financially. It's pretty difficult when your self-esteem is at an all-time low. It's pretty difficult when everyone you speak to says, why should I listen to you? Everything that you do seems to go south on you. It's pretty difficult when you have no experience in this industry. It's pretty difficult with all of those things that I just shared with you. But what I saw was something bigger, and that was a possibility. It was hope. It was a dream that one day, if I followed the people and I listened to the people that had been there before me, and I did what I had to, and I made some of these sacrifices, And I worked and worked and worked and went through these excuses, and I found that all excuses and all distractions, they were all equal. That if I focused on the goals and the dreams and the prize, that great things would come to me. And I did. I worked at it. And there were so many times when I'd speak to my sponsor, I'd speak to my coach, I'd speak to my mentor, because inside there was a reason for me to quit just about every day because of the objections and the challenges that I was going through, especially that first year. And I had to work on myself because belief really falls in these 6 areas for you to have long-term success here. As a leader for Nigeria, as someone that can walk away from this business potentially in the next 5 to 6 to 7 years, so your children can go to the schools that they wanted to, the schools that you wanted them to go to, the dream home that you wanted to live in, the car that you wanted to acquire for your spouse, the retirement home for your parents, all of the things that you ever dreamed about, you can have. We have them. We have them here. We have people that have come before you. 18 years ago, all of this was just a vision. All of it was just a dream. But Martin Luther King didn't say, I have a plan. Martin Luther King didn't say, I have a goal. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. Gloria, Dalibor, myself, we have a dream. One day, Nigeria will be open. One day, all of Africa will be open. One day, some of you on this call will be global ambassadors. One day, some of you on this call will be fulfilling and living all of the dreams that you've ever wanted to. I just don't know who. I really believe Gloria is one of them, and she's going to be the lead. But it will happen. It's not a matter, really, of if. It is going to happen. It's just a matter of who. Who is with Gloria? Who is with Dalibor? Who is with me? Who is going to be with NHT Global? So the price that you pay over the next several weeks, the next several months, the next several years can literally set you up and your life, your family, your children, and a legacy that can be passed down to your grandchildren for literally ever. It's the type of business model that we have that will provide this for all of your family for generations to come. So, gang, I want to thank you for being on this call. You're a very, very, very special group. We have so much more to do, but Dalibor, Gloria, and I are looking for that inner circle, that team, as we go forward here. We will never give up on you. Just don't give up on us. We will continue to work with the ones that are committed to going through the rest of Nigeria and all of Africa in the coming years. But we've got some very, very exciting plans and incentives and promotions that will be a part of your future, that will be part of our future, and our future together. So Dalibor, Gloria, I want to thank all of you for allowing me to reach out to you today. I'm looking forward to our next call. But with that, Dal, I'll turn it back to yourself and to Gloria. So thanks very much for allowing me to speak to the great team here in Nigeria. Thank you, Dal.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dan. It was super powerful. You know, there are few people when I hear them, talking about NHT, about the opportunity, I always want to sign up again, and you are one of them, definitely.
Thank you, Dal.
So thank you very much, Dan. Again, guys, I think this was something really special. And if you are not excited after this, then you should check your posts. Let's do what we have to do. We have already discussed with Gloria that we will prepare weekly webinars to keep everybody in the team updated, to share the experience, to share the tactics, how to talk to people, how to overcome objections, and all these things what Dan also mentioned. So let's stay tuned. We will share with you in the WhatsApp group. And again, we believe in you. We are here to help, and we believe in Nigeria. So thank you for listening. Good night, and talk to you very soon. Thank you again, Dan. Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Dal. Thanks, Gloria. Ciao, ciao, everybody. Bye-bye.